Okay.
All right. I do not have screen share again. Do you have to
Oh,
grant?
okay. I'll fix that. While I'm doing that, welcome everyone, live and recorded, to the Boston area HPC and GPU meetup group. We're talking mostly about the supercomputing conference coming up next year next week with the student cluster competition, and also some general recap on HPC topics. So Kurt is our co-organizer. I'll hand it to you, Kurt.
Okay. So this is rapidly becoming the only GPU HPC meetup. When meetup.com first started, there were like 6 of these,
It was
and
hot. Yeah.
we were the Boston group. But now I think we're the last Mohicans, mostly
Everyone
because
uses GPUs, but nobody goes to the meetups anymore.
right. Well, that's so. And the guy that started it, I think he started all 6, right? I mean, he was a
Jeff,
Boston native,
yeah, the
but
master
he did.
plumber.
Yep, yep. And then he moved around. He bebopped around a couple places, and oh, good. So we've got a goodly sized crowd. Love is here. So
Yeah, welcome.
Lev is no longer an SEC advisor, or maybe you are an SEC advisor. Is that possible, Lev, to be a SEC advisor in the future?
Ah, maybe. I don't
Maybe if
know.
they.
I'm on the committee now.
Oh, you are.
So yeah. I'm on this year's committee, so I have to make a disclaimer. Everything I
Yeah,
say is unofficial,
yeah.
and I do not represent the committee. I
Your
represent myself.
yes. Your comments are yeah. Pro say.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll start because, like I say, for you folks who just logged on, I'm already out in Denver. I'm in Boulder right now, and we're only about 30 miles away from Denver. So I'll do my quick little presentation that has nothing to do with student. Well, it's not entirely. I have a couple of interesting student cluster contest slides. So let me tear into that. Screen share, dunk, and I'll go to my slides. So I'm doing this CXL for HPC BOF, and I'm really jazzed up on CXL right now. So for those of you who haven't heard about this particular uh, major protocol broken into 3 sub protocols, CXL.mem, CXL.io, and CXL.cache, the big 3. This promises to change the way that we build supercomputing codes. It has a lot more application, but the one we're interested in is CXL 2.0, which might start seeing itself in products as early as first quarter next year, on PCI Express 5.0 boards. So as most of you know, not a whole lot of PCI Express 5 boards out there now. You can get an Intel Sapphire Rapids board, but nobody's really doing a whole lot with CXL. Right now, you can get CXL 1.1 tech. And then, like I say, hopefully it'll move forward and we'll be getting CXL 2.0 tech first quarter next year. A lot of people doing work on the API. A lot of people doing work on, Professor Jelinski's online. A lot of people doing work on CXL-enabled QEMU. A lot of people doing work on some other aspects, but nobody's got a fully deployed CXL server right now that you can bring around and demo to people. Now, one of the groups I'm involved in, since I'm in research computing, is this NSF Access grant, which was formerly Exceed. And they have this large consortium of people that participate in Campus Champions and some of their other small groups. So the way we can leverage this is you have a big data center like TAC or like San Diego Supercomputing Center, or in our case, Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center. And they have a supercomputer that the local grad students and PIs and postdocs log into, and they run their codes. Now, right now, when you request a job or a slice to run your computationally intensive code, you have to request number of cores, and number of GPUs, some other things, time. I think some of the students have had experience with SuperCloud quite recently, And so you go there and you type in this Slurm SBatch request, and you get very detailed about, what nodes are using and how many, cores per thread, threads per core. So what CXL promises to do, right now, if you need twice the amount of RAM for per core, you just request more cores, and we don't have a really good way to manage the memory, for that right now. You got your CPU code, and you're like, okay, I want to run this, and I need a gig per thread. You do your own calculations. You work with one of the sysadmins at one of the MG HPC supers. The MIT SuperCloud is the one I'm most familiar with. And then you put this SBatch, this Slurm job together, and you send it along. Well, with CXL, especially CXL 2.0, you don't have to worry about that. You put your job, you do something like cat proc meminfo, and you got like 8 petabytes of RAM. And a CXL, the APIs promise to make this transparent. So anything you're doing right now that needs a lot of memory, instead of getting out of memory errors, you'll probably just keep chugging along. Now, is it the kind of latency you've come to know and love along the along a typical DIMM bus on arm's length RAM to the CPU? No, but there's some ways to mitigate the latency issues, and there's certainly ways to mitigate the bandwidth issues. So,
can you characterize the order of magnitude,
yes,
compared to regular DRAM?
I can, and I have a slide.
Oh, okay, great.
So what this has promised to the broad HPC community is, remember all those codes we walked away from 10 years ago? You can revisit them. You can start working on them again. One thing we heard at our tour of NCAR today is everybody loves warfare, weather reporting and forecasting, but there aren't great accelerator, even portional, like WarfChem or something like that. There's only small pieces of this that run on your various accelerators. One that's near and dear to Elliot's heart is the NVIDIA GPU. There's not a whole lot of CUDA portions even today on Wharf. And Wharf has been around for 20 years. They had some pretty exotic memory schemes with it before. If you had a code and you said, okay, I want to run this, either had an architecture picked out or I run it as fast as possible, you used to be able to get a green book from NVIDIA. And they would tell you all the codes and how the CUDA implementation accelerates what parts of it, whether it was some sort of an internal loop or some sort of, anyway, NVIDIA has stuck with this. It's just online today. So if you're doing a multi-physics code and your professor says, go out there and run Quantum Espresso as fast as you can, you log on to SuperCloud and you work with one of the sysadmins and they say, we can give you 10 GPUs and 100 CPUs. This is what we do now, is horse trading, to get the maximum performance on a particular code, which we've optimized like crazy, especially if it's a GPU code. And then we go from there. Now, in the case of SuperCloud, and this isn't typical for every university data center or shared resource, they do a hard reboot every 30 days. So you're not doing a 30-day Slurm job, but you are doing a very dense 2-week and 3-week job, especially on some of these MI codes. Now, if you wanted to run CPU only, well, there's websites for that too. There's nothing quite as formal as the NVIDIA CUDA-enabled production code site. But you can go to one of the communities, download the code. They can say, well, do you want to run this multi-core, OpenMPI, OpenMP? There's some other, like I say, some of these old legacy codes that are really quite long in the tooth, deprecated in some cases. They have NUMA ports, some kind of exotic memory architectures that we can now revisit if we're not doing memory management anymore, if we're having CXL take care of that. And so that is why I'm looking at all of these old SCC codes. So the Student Cluster Contest has a mystery code. And in the old days, what they would do is probably revisit a code that was in a previous Student Cluster Contest. That's not so true anymore, but you know, because like the national labs have their mini apps, and sometimes they introduce a new mini app and say, okay, here's the mystery code, guys. But as long as you're familiar with some of the conventions, you know, there's a lot of CFD codes out there. Probably half of the Open Novation site is CFD and QCD codes. So if you're familiar with putting together an embarrassingly parallel code or something that does a lot of you know, a big internal loop, you can look at some of these other codes and say, okay, well, this is how these guys linked to a particular BLAS library, and this is how these guys made it, you know, 16-bit single precision instead of double precision. So I think that's one of the big payoffs for the student cluster contest. And Doug and Lev can tell me if I'm wrong here, is it gives you an introduction to classes of supercomputing. You know, so once you're comfortable with one of these codes, you can find a way to port other codes that follow that model. And one of the big high watermarks in that business, in the memory centric calculation business, was the Anton supercomputers from D.E. Shaw Research. Now, David Shaw had two businesses. One of them was making money on high frequency trading on Wall Street, and the other one was he was a computer science professor, and he wanted to rapidly accelerate a particular protein folding code. And he compared the Anton protein folding model to some of these other ones that, you know, folding at home is great, and over the 2-year quarantine period, folding at home had a tremendous amount of work done. But they were kind of solving a different folding problem. There's a dozen grand challenges in protein folding, you know, like Lou Gehrig's disease is a protein folding problem, muscular dystrophy. So there's you can either build a spectacular supercomputer that's so good it wins the Gordon Bell Prize, or you can find some way to make it massively parallel through a screensaver. So the great thing about the Gordon Bell or the Anton supercomputers is he not only did well by solving a protein folding problem, but he also did good. He found some ways to accelerate his day job, or maybe at that point it was his night job, speeding codes up on Wall Street. I don't have time for it now, but I think we were also going to talk about UXL. Do you know anything about UXL yet, Elliot? So UXL looks a little like, you know, it's the Open Accelerator Foundation, and it's mostly Linux Foundation, Open Compute. So this is going to be a community with no particular industry partners yet. But I'm going to hear about this at Supercomputing. I think it's brand spanking new. And
is it similar in intent to CXL, or a totally different idea?
It's supposed to. So there's a couple of pins on PCI Express 5 that you shove an accelerator into the PCI bus, and it auto configures, it auto recognizes and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to do that with CXL. I think CXL is just going to treat whatever memory you have on your accelerator, if it's GDDR5 or if, you know, or if it's one of those cards purpose built to share out memory. I think that it's going to be at that level of abstraction. This one I think is going to be a little bit closer to metal. So I'm going to do some research on it. That website there, uxlfoundation.org, just has a press release. They don't.
Okay.
All right, that's really, I have to talk a little bit about B float and all of these exotic numerical notations, and but that's pretty much all I got, which is good, because I know you guys want to talk about student cluster contest things, but I thought I'd horrify you with that SEC slide with all of the apps in it that they've done over the years, and how many of those are still current.
So you're confident that there is no composable system in the student cluster competition?
Composable.
Or just not CXL?
No, because so I think there's going to be, you know how companies like to make announcements on like the day that
oh, I know very well. Yes.
So
stay tuned until Monday.
I think there's going to be, I think there's going to be a team there with maybe just one slight generation behind whatever is state of the art. November 15th. And it's probably going to be Intel that, since Intel has been shipping this Sapphire Rapids board and people have been using it to develop CXL apps on, it'll probably be Intel making that announcement. Now, I don't know, is there any public position for NVIDIA on CXL? I don't really know what you'd be able to do with it. Share out your
Yeah, I definitely can't speak officially. My understanding is that we are involved in a number of those consortia, but they're not moving as fast as a single player can move on their own, right? So I know to some extent Intel's doing their own thing. To some extent, NVIDIA has been, ramping up with NVLink and all of that. Not composable exactly, but new forms of connectivity between systems, certainly.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, so what do we hear? We have representation from a team on the East and a team on the West. Is that right?
Yep. And
terrific.
And Matt Chung from UC Riverside is here. He's mostly going to lurk, but he does have some questions for us and wants to talk about putting an SEC team together, maybe as quickly as ISC 24. We're kind of in a TikTok cycle now, Elliot. I think every 2 years we get some major breakthrough, but like CXL 3.0 isn't even going to see the light of day until Q4 2025. And CXL 3.0 is really going to be impressive.
Boy, yeah. Okay. That's based on what, PCIe Gen 6 or not? It's not even tied to the PCIe at that point.
It is. Like the one-stop systems that had they've got this big PCI bus that you hang off of the back of your server.
Yes.
CXL 3.0 is going to allow you to daisy chain arbitrary root complex PCI buses. So you've got a crazy 16 slot bus. You'll be able to get another 16 slot bus out of it. And don't ask me how you make a serial bus that can maintain that level of bandwidth. It's down a daisy chain. But
Oh, interesting. So if you all haven't seen that, One Stop will be at Supercomputing. I think they usually have a pretty decent sized booth, and you can see this thing, right? You can see a box that's got, I don't know, 16 GPUs in it, or 16, maybe 64, like a whole bunch of storage devices in it, and then just like one cable that goes to your server, right? So the idea is you take any server, plug a cable into it, and you can attach a whole bunch of storage, a whole bunch of GPUs, whatever it is.
And I think they've at least announced roadmap for CXL. There are other companies that are doing stuff like that, but have definitely announced roadmap for CXL. It's just that I don't think, if you see any CXL 2.0 product at Supercomputing, it's going to be, alpha test gear or beta test.
Gotcha. Okay. It'll be fun to run around and see. I actually have not been to SC for 4 years now, so I'm raring to go. 2019 was the last time for me.
Is that right?
Man.
Do you have booth duties? Do you have to work it?
No booth duties. Lots of meetings, but no booth duties.
Okay, good. Well,
it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Come by the team.
I will come by. So for the students, I don't know how you all do this because it's in the middle of the competition, but Wednesday is the job fair at SC. Is there some kind of carve out for that or something? Because it's worth going to.
Almost certainly. I don't think.
Yeah.
Have we gotten an agenda yet, Reina?
It's going to be during the competition, but last year I went to the job fair during the competition. So
good.
If I remember correctly, and I don't think I do. I think it is between 4 to 6, and for us, competition ends at 5. Either way, what I heard is, since you can't always have a bunch of people running jobs on the same machine, we're probably gonna switch around who's at the booth. So it'll work out for us.
Is that awesome. On Thursday?
Wednesday. It's on Wednesday. There's a link I can put in the chat if people want it. I'm happy to do that. I think it's great. I ran a table at the job fair a few years back, and it was really good. It's a good opportunity just to see what's out there, if nothing else, right? Even if it's a couple of years till you're looking for work. And it's not just industry there too, I don't think. I mean, my employer, NVIDIA, will definitely have a table there. Would love for you to go to that table, but there will be others. Probably some of the national labs. I recall that student cluster members have had pretty good opportunity to get into the national labs, haven't they? Haven't we had a few people go that way?
Yeah, and sometimes the good news about getting hired as a junior programmer at the national labs is they are very incentivized to get you into grad school. So So everybody I know that went to work for the national labs ended up in grad school quickly thereafter on their dime.
Very nice.
That's
The other little thing
great.
is, and I will come by the student cluster competition, but is this going to work? I'll fix my video. I'm giving away little nonsense Grace Hopper swag. So
Oh
if you
no!
want a nanosecond, I will come by the competition and hand out nanoseconds, just
You
like
son of
Grace
a
Hopper
gun.
used to.
Those are
Yeah,
in very
I'm
rare
pumped.
supply.
Yeah.
We have this toast at there's a graduate student pub at MIT still, and they celebrate. I don't know if you've seen this. There's a phenomenon called a leap second. I know Doug knows about these things. So every couple of years, they stick a leap second into the calendar because
Right.
the Earth jiggled or something like that. So we celebrate a leap nanosecond over at the Thirsty Scholar. And the way you toast a leap nanosecond is just arbitrarily say, happy leap nanosecond. And because who's gonna prove you wrong? But there's leap nanoseconds all the time. So it'd be good to have like an authentic nanosecond as a swizzle stick, which is, so she's violating with at least one of the units of measurement there, but that's okay. What's a parsec among friends, right? So
So I'm curious if any of the students have anything in particular they want to talk about. It sounded like there were maybe some questions. I mean, I have questions, right? Like I haven't had enough time for the SCT this year. Like, what are the apps? Is anyone willing to talk about their hardware or not yet? I have to wait till next week.
Yeah, we have a few slides, and David made them, so we can talk about it a little bit.
Please, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some slides prepared just for like a quick introduction to our team and the stuff that we're gonna be working at. So I'm gonna quickly share that over and do like a quick presentation on that.
Okay.
Let me just get this to work really quickly. I'm not sure if I have shared screen permissions.
It should allow anyone to share their screen.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Let me just. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
All right, cool. So yeah, this year we're competing as BU cubed, and we're comprised of Boston University, Brown University, and UMass Boston. And we're going to be going to the 2023 student cluster competition at Denver, Colorado. So we're really excited about that. Really excited to be flying out in 2 days and just compete overall. And I guess like we've done this every year, but quick recent history of UHPC at the Supercomputing Conference. At the Supercomputing Conference 2020, that one was virtual, and we competed as Team BU HPC, where we're comprised of BU and MIT. And then in 2021, we competed as Massachusetts Green Team, which comprised of BU, BC, and UMass Lowell. And then last year at the Student Cluster Competition 2022, we once again competed as the Massachusetts Green Team with BU, MIT, and Northeastern. And there's some familiar faces there, I'm pretty sure. And so I just want to do a quick story. This is a story that's been told to me when I was a freshman first entering BU-HPC. I think Ben, who's here, he told me this story when I first got into this club, when I started college. But this was the virtual competition back in 2020. And as far as I know, I remember the story goes that the team at the time weren't as experienced, which explains why the performance scores weren't the greatest, but there was just a random spike of that blue line. That's our team. The random spike where we decided to, or the team at that time decided to pour all of their money into just running up the computers to get the highest score possible. And that was a really funny scenario. And then the year after, we did a lot better. We being the team that did compete during 2021, and we scored the highest overall benchmarking score in the US and third overall in general. and BU made a nice little article about us. I'm sure some familiar faces here have good memories about this competition. And last year, I understudied for this competition, the SE 2022, when AMD and Supermicro sponsored our build, and we ended up actually breaking the competition record of 142 teraflops, when the previous record was 51.74 in 2019. So that was huge news for us. Unfortunately, we were disqualified because we didn't have a rack, apparently. Somewhere in the fine lines for the rules, you needed a server rack to hold the computer.
No way.
Yeah, so we were
Like a weight
disqualified.
limit or something? Jeez.
I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't there in person, but I've had this story told to me many times by Carlton and Reina and the previous members who competed last year. So it was unfortunate, but the funny thing is, if you look at the current rules now for SE23, it's in big bold. Your computer must have a server rack, so at least we made an impact. So I guess moving on, yeah.
I just wanted to comment. Yeah, I think this was always the case, and basically, it's a cluster. It should look like a cluster,
Right.
and because appearance and safety, that's the reason behind it.
Sure. Yeah, I could understand that. These
Yeah.
yeah, these things are sharp. I have cut myself many a time on a system.
Yeah, you don't run things in the data center on the cardboard or on the table. Well, you do occasionally, but not. We don't talk about it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
this
can
time
follow on
around,
with Lev's comment there. In the past, some of the cluster nodes have actually almost collapsed the tables because they were so heavy. So
yeah, it's definitely very interesting, and I think this time around we do have a server rack, so we look forward to competing and not disqualifying. So I guess that leads us to our current team. So we have Reina and August. This is their second time competing, and for the rest of us, Julia, me, Shamra, and Kevin, this is our first time competing. So to be quite frank, we're all not as experienced as perhaps the other teams or as Reina and August, but I think we've all made significant progress and we've all learned so much just throughout this semester and also throughout the summer when we've been practicing with the applications and just playing around with the benchmarks in general. So our hardware consists of an Ampere Collins 5-node system. It's a little unconventional in the way that it's actually an ARM build, but we do have 4 NVIDIA Tesla T4s that I think we secured not too long ago. So that was a good last minute get. But it does have 80 cores per node with a total of 800 cores total, and each CPU core will have 1 megabyte of L2 cache. So looking forward to actually utilizing the hardware once we get to Denver. We've been working on it remotely as of now. And for the benchmarks this year, we have the usual HPL and HPCG and MLPerf. And then this time around, we have 3-dimensional hydrodynamic, which our team member Shamar, who's in this call, will explain later. We have the MPass atmosphere core challenge and the reproducibility challenge. That's a challenge that I'm specifically working on. And of course, the mystery application that we'll all work on together once we are in Denver and it gets announced. So just some quick things because I've been working on this throughout this week and I wanted to just like talk about it a bit. So for the reproducibility challenge, we're reproducing results on Cholesky decomposition. It's very abstract and it's really confusing, but I've learned a lot just throughout this whole process, and it's been really insightful, I guess. But the paper kind of just goes that a symmetric block cyclic distribution of a matrix will yield lesser communications than a 2D block cyclic distribution of that same matrix by a factor of square root 2. So I just have to, essentially for the reproducibility challenge, I have to reproduce the results in this findings and prove that it is the arithmetic intensity is increased by a factor of square root of 2, and a 2.5D variant of that same symmetric block cyclic distribution increases the arithmetic intensity by a factor of full on 2. And I think for our software stack, we're using Chameleon Star PU, and OpenMP. And here are some like diagrams from the paper itself showing symmetric block cyclic distributions, like benefits over a 2D block cyclic distribution. It's approximately square root 2 faster in terms of lesser communication. I guess I can turn it over to Shamar, who's working on this challenge. He can kind of briefly explain what he's been working on so far.
So as for this challenge, the repository of the application is all written in Fortran, and it's meant to model the interactions of like the hydrodynamic interactions along with the interactions of magnetic fields. And the big use case that was mentioned for this is actually seeing how plumes of stars develop, since there are a lot of forces interacting as stars develop. And going on to the next slide, it basically just has a lot of tunable parameters within one of the given files that determine the size of the simulation and what factors are taken into account, since either in some cases magnetic fields or rotation may not need to be considered, and sometimes they may need to be. And for the competition, we will have a few different tests given to us with different parameters, and we'll try to optimize them to our hardware. And since this is a deterministic simulation, there's not really a check for accuracy. You do just have to have the correct output every time.
Yeah, that's actually all we have for the slides, but the rest of our team are working really hard on the rest of the benchmarks and applications. So yeah, that was just a quick run through of like our progress so far and what we've been working on, and a quick introduction to our team, I guess.
Thank you. That's great. And part of this competition is you have to master both the codes, right? The performance of the codes, but you have to also master to some extent the science. Is that right? Like you have to be able to speak to the research that you could accomplish through those simulations.
Yeah. We'll have to basically come up with like conclusive results by reproducing the results and add on to like the already made analysis.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. What was there anyone else who wanted to share anything that they'd already put together?
Actually, I've got a question for David about the presentation, if you don't mind, Elliot.
Oh yeah, please. Let's go.
Yeah, so ARM's a pretty interesting choice to bring to the cluster competition. Do you guys see like any advantages or disadvantages of running an ARM cluster?
Oh yeah, Reina's
Go.
hand.
I guess there are like a few libraries that we had trouble installing, but they also have specific performance analysis libraries that's going to be pretty beneficial to the competition that's specific to ARM.
You're saying that there's a math library that was not available for ARM? Is that what you were saying?
Not math. I think, David, you're trying to install Intel MKL. That is not.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Intel MKL is only supported on x86 CPUs, of course, right? It's designed for x86 CPUs. Yeah. Have you been able to investigate whether other math libraries would be able to stand in? Is that what you've been had to work on?
Yeah, I think David found a application, a library to replace it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we see quite a bit of that, for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hope it works out well. And then the NVIDIA T4s, how does that compare to? I saw that like some of the other teams are bringing like H100s. You guys have any like comparison points for how your GPU is going to do?
We haven't got a chance to play with it that much yet because we just got it like I think last week. But so we're still in the process of like trying to run like some of the more like GPU intensive benchmarks on it, and hopefully we'll get some good results.
Yeah, sounds good. Good luck to all of you.
Thanks.
Francisco was saying in the chat, this is very relatable, that hardware comes late. I think any of us who are adjacent to some of the production systems have horror stories, right? The last couple, maybe the last 3 years of teams that were waiting a year longer than they expected to get their computing gear. It's been rough. Absolutely.
I mean, not just teams, but real projects and real customers.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, huge projects. Yeah. Matthew, do you have a comment?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd just like to, introduce myself and have a question for you as a account manager. So I'm a I'm a student at UC Riverside, a computer engineering major. I'm a second year. This is gonna go for on for a bit, but I founded the HPC club in my first year, and I wanted to attend SC, but I was having trouble finding other students who were interested at my school. So unfortunately, not this year. And also, kind of UC Riverside doesn't really have very strong vendor relationships, so that was something I had to undertake myself. And adjacent to that, I'm also a system administrator and research computing facilitator at UC Riverside, so I support research computing.
Awesome.
And adjacent to that, I'm a solutions architect for UC Riverside. So recently I did a Ceph cluster project for a cyber infrastructure grant, and my current project is a GPU cluster for instructional purposes for our College of Engineering. So I want to ask you, I was looking into getting MGX-based systems, and I was wondering what the lead time on Grace CPUs and Grace Hopper superchips
Oh, wow.
were.
Very specific. Okay. So you're not going to be at supercomputing next week, is that right?
I will be in attendance, just not as a competitor.
Oh, I see. Okay, so maybe we can meet up.
Yeah.
So you're talking to the right team, right? My teammates manage NVIDIA's relationship with UC system.
I've been introduced to Bruce. I don't know if you know who he is.
Oh, yeah, terrific. Yep, Bruce. Yep, yeah. Bruce is my teammate.
We've scheduled a meeting.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
great, terrific. So I fear that my answer is not going to be as useful as you might hope. It does vary by product, very specifically by product, right? Like H100 PCI Express card. I don't know which H100s other teams are bringing, right? But there's like a card, standard PCI Express card, and then there are versions of the H100 that are NVLink. So they look more like a chip soldered down onto a motherboard, and there's a group of them on a board. Those have very different lead times, kind of different supply chains. So, and it even depends which vendor you're getting them from, right? There's all these vendors that will take our technology and package them up. They all have different lead times. So the safe answer is that it will take most likely several months. And in the worst case, perhaps 6 to 12 months. And it really just depends on the product. You'll hear similar things from other vendors, right? I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of projects going on with a lot of technologies. Thanks, Rodrigo. So it's a challenge as folks build big systems. There's often longer lead times for the Grace systems in particular. There are some customers that are getting them this month and next month. So at least at a small scale, right? So folks are starting to get them. But again, it's going to depend on exactly which form factor you select as to what the timeline is going to look like. But they're out there. So soon is hopefully the answer that you'll hear.
That's comforting because I heard that from some vendors that we work with that H100s have over a year of lead time. But if like GH200s are within like a several month lead time, that's very reassuring.
And it depends on your quantity as well, right? Like
Right.
if you were saying, hey, we want 1 Grace Hopper to eval, that might be different than, hey, we need 100 Grace Hoppers for a production system or whatever
Right.
it happens to
For
be.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, what's the power envelope look like this year in the competition? I know that's often a challenging factor.
I think this year there's a cap of 4,000 watts total. And I believe you have to, each node can't exceed 2,000 watts.
Okay.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a worry for us because I think our hardware this year is pretty low on power consumption.
I would say overall that is a challenge. I've seen there are nodes out there that are 10,000 watts each, right? In pretty big production. So this is that is actually a restriction for sure. Getting challenging, right? People talk about various laws ending, various scaling laws. It requires a lot of money and a lot of watts to get more performance out of these chips now. Wow.
Question for the teams in attendance in regards to hardware. I was under the understanding that there's 500 watts separately from this 4,000 that were allotted for networking equipment. Are you guys making use of this power? Do NICs count? Do transceivers count as part of this 500 watt allocation or no?
Not for us. I think we're just using it for charging our computers and stuff.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think we're supposed to or allowed to use that 500 watts toward the cluster.
As far as I know, we have 500 watts for like our switch. I don't think NICs count, but yeah, that's mostly for our switch, which for us is really good because last year we tried forgoing the switch altogether and just having node-to-node communication, but that didn't really work out very well. So those 500 watts are very helpful. Oh, and I don't think no one mentioned, I might have not heard, but there's also there's another power requirement, and that's 2,000 per node. Just to avoid what happened last year, where there was just like one main node, like a whole GPU node, and the others were just like for less power or just to keep up with the 3 node requirement. So yeah, maybe someone can elaborate if they want.
Yeah, anything that's inside the node, like NICs, that goes towards the node power budget. But outside the switch can be outside into 500 watts.
Is there like separate power measurement going on? I understand if you got like a Spectrum SN4700, the TDP is like somewhere around 700 watts. I don't expect that you would actually reach 700, but is that being like measured separately?
It will be measured. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know the specific details, but yes, teams will be told which plugs on the PDU to use for what parts, and it will be measured separately.
Understood. Thank you.
Do you have to be prepared for potential power outages as well during the challenge?
Not that I am aware of. I don't know, maybe the UCSD team, do you guys know?
At least not any planned ones.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So no checkpointing efforts. You're not going to be trying to save the state of your jobs as they run.
Yeah, no, none of that. But I like last year I heard there was like a dynamic power where like once in a while they would reduce the power limit. Yeah, they're not doing that this year.
Yeah, okay. That's a challenge. How did that go?
Well, it went as witty as you would imagine. People just not running jobs.
Oh, it's easier just to stop than
Yeah.
to adjust your power.
Yeah, to
Oh,
get better
no.
scores.
Huh.
Oh.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, one thing I was going to comment on is certainly for the products that I work with, you can set power thresholds, and there's almost there's a curve that is very much not linear in power consumed versus performance achieved. So with some accelerators, you may find that the first 50 or 80% of the power delivers, or I'm sorry, the first 50 to 80% of the performance is delivered by fairly few watts. And the last percentage of performance requires a lot more watts, right? And it depends what that trend is like. But I know someone was running Gromax on an accelerator. They cut the power in half and the performance only went down by like 5-10%. So it's very nonlinear, and it's something to be aware of. I don't know if a team has done this where they bring a whole bunch of accelerators, cap them on power, and get them in under the limit. It's probably a budgeting challenge more than anything else to get your hands on those. Are the various team systems, are they published yet or known? Like, do you know what you're going to be up against?
Relatively, we did have to make like hardware posts a while ago, and our posters are up on the student cluster competition, think.us.
Okay.
And we could see all of their teammates and like also their hardware and posters. I was not aware of the GPUs for the Boston team, so that is a pleasant surprise.
The twist.
Yeah, because we didn't know until very recently. We thought we
Yeah.
were just not going to bring a GPU to the competition.
Yeah, we thought you were just betting it all on your nodes, on ARM nodes. But yeah, I guess while you shared something, I guess I'll share something for ourselves. We had originally asked for NVIDIA GPUs, and then they were unavailable because right now a lot of people are buying them up, and we shifted over to AMD MI210s. And that's why we decided to use MI210s. We didn't get our cluster until very recently, actually. It was kind of strange to see a email from the organizer saying, "I hope you shipped your cluster," after we had 2 days with our brand new cluster to us. So.
Oh no. Professor Cayley just signed on, and he is an expert at last minute supercomputer assembly, as I recall.
I basically had to pack it in our carry-on bags, and I disassembled it, the cluster, put it in our bags, and we were able to ship it to SC, though it was parts. I understand the pain. Sorry.
Oh boy. So, Francisco, how is it going then? Or, with the 2 days that you had, were you able to get things? Are you willing to share?
Well, those were the 2 days, like when we received that email. From since then, it's been like a week and a half. We shipped on Monday morning. Now we were there like packaging stuff up at like 1 a.m. And that's it's been shipped now, so we can't really touch our stuff.
One year we had our stuff sitting in a warehouse in the Midwest somewhere during all of supercomputing, and we went and salvaged nodes off of vendors on the floor, and so we got the MacGyver award that year.
I thought it was interesting hearing. I think it was a discourse post a while ago from an international team, I think from China, and they were saying how they got their GPUs at the conference, and they just had their own, but they couldn't ship the cluster because of cost or something. I don't know how they're going to do it this year. I'm actually quite interested. So,
yeah. Well, good luck. I'm sorry I'm joining late. I don't know how long I can stay, but I had a lot of conflicts tonight. So.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We were just talking about the various teams have had to post their designs. Is there anything super exotic that anyone's coming in with? Maybe not.
No, I think
ARM is
this
probably
team
the
is the most exotic. Yeah.
ARM is okay. Well,
I
good on you.
We second that. Yeah.
Interesting.
By the way, I do have some slides that I'm willing to present about this an event that our school had in spring, in case we want to talk about something else.
What kind of event was it?
It was a competition we organized for like Singapore cluster competition. It was meant to like
Oh, interesting.
mimic
Oh,
SEC.
cool.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, please do. We tried doing that at Northeastern one year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. Am I allowed to screen share? I have a different
You
account,
should
by
be.
the way. Okay.
You should be. Give it a try.
Hey, I think it might be working. It's I don't know if
Don't
you'll
see it
see
yet.
that might be because I'm not doing it from my account, but I'm doing it from a different
I see the
account.
other account signed in, but and you should be able to share from there, but I don't see the slides yet.
That's weird. It looks okay on my screen. Well, huh. I wonder if I have to stop my video record. I hope not. Huh. Oh, well, I guess I can't. I'll just talk about it then.
No. Yeah, tell us. Okay.
Yeah, so since it's kind of hard, I mean, getting hardware can be a little difficult and getting a lot of the stuff ready and training team for SEC can be very intensive. We wanted to have another competition that we could get our hardware on that would require us having more nodes and it would be good practice for us. So we had a single board cluster competition. So it was based off using single board like a Raspberry Pi or Rock Pi, Orange Pis, all that. And we hosted a competition in spring. So I think last year the previous supercomputing club president or the lead of the SEC for 2022 had been the one who spoke to a few other teams about this, and we ended up getting like two community colleges, Palomar and Southwestern from here, but we also got UCSD, our team, right? Because we hosted it, and also a team from Aalborg Universitet from Denmark, and that was pretty cool. So we had a competition, the benchmark similar to SEC. Our benchmarks were HPL, HPCG, some Intel MPI benchmarks, and then some implementation of Graph 500. Of course, the requirements, they were toned down for this. There was a 250 watt limit, 4 sockets, and a maximum cost of 6,000. So that kind of getting hardware for SEC has always been very difficult for most people. I think everyone can actually agree on that. So doing something like this was allowed us to play around with hardware and the software we wanted on it much more. It also, again, was good practice. And we were hoping this year to do it again, hopefully get more teams. So we've been in communication with Aalborg Universitet again, and actually Matthew Chung, who is here, and the people at TAC, who were unfortunately unable to bring a team to SEC this year, about having a similar event this year. Since last year we hosted it at UCSD, this year the people at Aalborg Universitet, who are going very strong now after after winning last year's competition, decided to host it themselves, and hopefully they'll be getting more European teams to compete too. It'll be similar. It'll be like similar requirements, like the 4 sockets, the $6,000 power limit. I mean, cost limit, 250 watt power limit, and no M1 or M2 chips. And we plan on making it something like 3 days. So like a setup day to get your cluster, get everything ready, speak to maybe any mentor or get any help, because that's always good to have. Second day for benchmarking, where we kind of like SEC reveal a mystery app by the end of it. And then have a third day just to get the application going and do some like judging of who wins or not. And that's something we've been wanting to organize for a while now. So right now we're using this month to just tell other teams, see who's interested, who can attend, who can bring a team. Then in next year, mid-January, give like a final submission for people to say, hey, I will be able to attend and bring a team. And if all goes well, if that looks like a lot of teams are interested, then we could have a continue with a hardware proposal in February, and then a final proposal design for in March. And again, if everything goes well, in April, mid-April, host the competition, like around a month before ISC. So that's kind of the plans. And if you are interested in competition, if you can bring a team, or if you are interested in hosting like or judging an application, have one in mind, you can reach out to me in my school email or the club email that we have. I put in the chat. So yeah, that might have been like a lot of information, but I hope people are interested and we can make this happen.
No, that's great. SC used to have a competition that was just exactly very similar to what you're describing. And that year we actually won it.
I know that I never participated in what is the competition, the one that happened like a week ago, the 500 in the Indy 500, but was it similar or was it different?
I didn't see what the Indy 500 was this year.
Is that cloud-based D&D?
Indy STC. Yeah, it is cloud-based. So this is for teams that do not have their own hardware. They're given a cluster. Well, they're given hardware on the on Jetstream on the Chameleon system, and they can configure their nodes to whatever they want. So
we had that during COVID. COVID.
Yeah.
But earlier on, we basically they were giving a $5,000 budget for your system, and we did a tower of motherboards with AMD GPUs and ran MPI across the 4 motherboards, and it was fast. And everybody else was using the first, one of the first NVIDIA GPUs, and we kicked their butt.
Right. Yeah, I think they only did it 1 year though, because it was difficult to kind of run it concurrently with the real hardware.
Yeah, I know. Real. I understand.
And it's
the way it should be. I mean,
yeah,
let people be creative.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Not see how many H100s you can stack in a rack. Sorry, Elliot. But...
Well, we were talking about, I think before you joined, it's a limit of 2,000 watts per node and 4,000 watts total. So you can only stack so high, but your point is well taken nonetheless.
Yes.
So Francisco, did you share, maybe I missed this, how many teams are already engaged in this potential competition?
Well, right now it's again the Aalborg University, UCSD, and the TAC people over at TAC are helping us organize it. Hopefully they'll be able to organize a team. And since they didn't bring a SCC team, they have mentioned that they have some extra funds that they want to invest for students. So there's that. And I've been talking to Matthew Chung, who again is here. He talked earlier about organizing that. Though I imagine, like realistically speaking, he will be very busy trying to get a team for ISC. So there's that.
Yeah. No, it's great that you're doing it. Who's your mentor at UCSD?
Mary P. Thomas. I don't know what the P stands for. I've known her for like a year now. So
okay. I know Dean Tulson there very well.
I don't think I know. Could you tell me how to spell his name just so I can remember that?
Tullsen.
One more time.
He used to be the chair of CS there.
Oh, okay. And
he just stepped down as chair.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Anything for this specific independently hosted competition, and I do have to think.
If you need help, maybe I can get him to help you.
Oh, okay. Noted. Very well noted.
I have a lot of friends.
Is there
on that note, Dave, we should maybe speak to the importance of networking. So we mentioned before you joined that they should definitely go to the job fair, right, during SC. Any other networking advice? Like, this is true professional development, and it matters.
I thought you were going to tell me about the latest NVLink
If the network is important to computers, the network is also important to people, right?
Sorry,
Equally or
I
more.
just my mind went, in the gutter. So,
Oh man.
networking, go to some of the technical sessions if you can. And yeah, I know all that fun stuff that they give out for free is fun, but there's a lot more that you can feed your head with there too. So, there's actually a lot you can learn. But don't stay in your booth the whole time. And get some sleep. No one wins an award for falling asleep on their computer.
Do we have, so is represented here, is it Boston and UCSD, or is there another team?
Sorry?
For our teams represented in this meeting, I know it's Boston and UCSD. Is there another team going to SEC?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of, not in the meeting. Is there?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Well, any other questions
I would
for
just
the
add, this is Doug
teams?
Smith. I would just add
Oh,
on
hey,
the
Doug.
networking front for the teams that are here. Engage with your other colleagues, your other.
Oh, the other teams, yeah. Particularly the international teams. That's really a great experience. I know past teams really connected well there. And you help each other out sometimes. I mean, nothing where you're, just supporting each other. It's really helpful.
Yeah, you might see there may be some teams that are less friendly and more friendly, but generally more friendly is kind of expected. You are competing, but you are not enemies, right? So
That's right.
Yeah, I think all the teams we interacted with last year were very friendly. We even borrowed our Switch from the team that's right next to us because our Switch was very slow.
Good.
I think for our team has been too stressed to have any more kind of like negativity. So you can openly talk to us. I
Okay.
hope.
Well, good luck. I do have to drop off. Good luck at SC, both teams, and nice to see many of you. Take care.
Any about the other? Oh, go ahead, Lev.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that a lot of this stress level will disappear once you hit the floor and you have your hardware on the floor and you start working. Like then it'll be work, not stress. You'll be just doing what you've been trained for.
Welcome, Zishian. I saw you just join. Let us know if you have any questions. Are you on one of the teams? In WeChat. Okay, the networking has started. There you go.
Yeah, Zishin's our ML perp guy. He's awesome.
Oh, nice. Okay, welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. We haven't really talked too much about that, right? Supercomputing used to be all HPC, and now there's a lot of AI. I have a feeling if you do go to the other exhibit hall booths, a lot of them are going to say AI this and that, right? So there's AI is becoming a part of everything, including HPC. That's certainly the way I've been seeing it. Terrific. Students, do you have any other requests? We don't have too many smart people left on the phone, maybe your elders, but any other questions that you want to ask?
I think we're good.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, good luck. I think you've heard some terrific advice. Hopefully it was useful. It was wonderful to hear what's going on. It's going to be exciting. So enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Good luck, everyone. See you.